what generally can be said about Titan Quest is that we have this handcrafted world, so we don't use any procedural level generation, at least for now. And this allows us to really take advantage of all these little areas that we can design to create memorable situations for the player. Like here, this ladder might be missed by a few people, but it actually leads to a little area where the player can face more Ictians and maybe also discovers something else.
Yeah, this is also pretty early in the game, so the encounters, we've deliberately made them quite easy, but we're still putting some rewards here, as well as some nice view with the waterfall over there. And as far as exploration goes, more rewards, more exploration, but it's optional. You don't have to come here to the Altar of Benevolence. You could have just skipped this.
Yeah, we're trying to break up these combat pauses like you saw before when Balin was running back from the first Ictians, to have these little scenic events like the waterfall.
That's right. So we've got a bunch of choice dialogues here that we're currently covering up with the camera, but that's fine. I've requested a staff here, and that brings us to our items, which we've got a lot of items, and they're really cool. Not just in terms of visuals, but also in terms of what they do. So we've brought back, obviously, all the things about rarities that you can imagine. They basically come with a different number of affixes, but we also put the items into these families, which are essentially these visual groupings of the items, and then those will also bring a specific effect with them. The innate effect, the white effect, essentially, here on the overview. Flo, do you want to tell us a little bit about how the visual groupings have been created?
Yeah,
Maybe I'll
absolutely.
swap to a bow.
Yeah, so as in other games, obviously we have a lot of weapon classes, but all these weapon classes, like one-hand sword, shield, bow, all of these we have divided in 3 families each, as Balin was mentioning already, and each of these families kind of represent or kind of support a playstyle a bit more. I mean, after all, they stay the same, so our two-hand axe, for example, will always be the slow, heavy-hitting weapon compared to a sword, let's say, but there are nuances that can be shifted with these families. So, for example, to stay with the example of the two-handed axes, we have heavy, medium, and light axes, and the light axe might be maybe focusing more on a crit build, while the heavy axes more support this really builds that just want to bring the damage to the enemies. And visually, we kind of differentiate between generated items and uniques or monster frequents or faction items, and so especially in the early game or in combat situation, most of the time, if you're not facing unique, so each weapon will consist at least of 2 parts, but many of more parts actually as well. And this is not only reflected in the 3D mesh. This is also like you can see the item on the ground, you can see it in the icon, and you can see it on your player character. Because I think personally, this is really something that stands out. For us, and I think it's really rewarding just to see everything on your character displayed, and also in the inventory.
We're about to level up, and when we do, we'll be talking about the Masteries in a moment. But first, it seems these Ictian Guardians have been dropping some special items, and we'll be picking those up.
Look in game as it does on the icon. So props for you who found out. This is actually a bug. Sorry that it happened, but we're on to the items. Like, this is a very first iterations, and we have a fix already in an internal build. Just wanted to be sure we're on the same page here.
That's right. This build is actually old now, so there is that. We still wanted to show you, for those of you who couldn't attend in person, and that's, I think, totally fine. It is far for some of you after all. But we have leveled up, and it's time to talk a little bit about those masteries. So we still have the whole thing of combining 2 masteries to form your own class. We don't just give you a class. There's classic Titan Quest stuff. We have active skills as well as passive skills. Of course, what you see here in terms of the size of the skill tree is drastically cut down for the Gamescom demo specifically, so that players with their limited time sessions over there could just get into it and figure out what's going on within the skills. So these are the modifiers that you can slot in, which will cost some capacity slots, which then you unlock with your active points. So if I want to modify my leap slam now to do more stuff, such as also do a stun, then I can assign this, but that will take 2 of these slots. However, if I take it out, I gain those back, and I can do this anytime. I could assign the rage gain, which is also a really nice modifier, and well, we need to somehow make use of that rage, right? It's just a status effect. We've got this onslaught on the primary weapon attack, and I have some more points available over there, so why don't we just get that, put it on, and then it can work in tandem with our frost explosion, which essentially converts some of our damage to cold, and then causes some explosions when enemies get frozen, which we can very easily do with our Frost Nova as well, Ice Nova, sorry. And the Onslaught, as we gain Rage from every attack, as well as our Leap Slam, will be increasing our attack speed, so we're going to be attacking pretty quickly. We also have Overwhelm, which is also a status effect gained by the primary attack. Up to 3 stacks can be had, and then you consume it essentially with your Stomp. The Stomp already stuns, so it's pretty useful, but Overwhelm makes it do more damage and in a larger radius. So let me quickly show you. We're going to build up the 3 stacks of Overwhelm here, and then consume it with a giant Stomp. But once this cooldown is over, we'll be able to see how much smaller the regular one is. So our attributes are basically this 3-directional triangle that you're looking at, but it becomes 6-directional once you start combining these. We've got Vigor in the middle as well, which impacts your health. But Might, what that does, it basically unlocks your support for heavy armor as well as heavy weapons that you would expect from a warrior. Knowledge is more the mage stuff, like robes as well as staves. Agility is more like the deck stuff that you'd be used to from other RPG games, so daggers and stuff like that. But then we have things like fitness. Fitness looks at a combination. We have a formula for this, for might, vigor, and agility basically get combined into fitness. Depending on how you spread this out, might and agility contribute more than vigor. But what this does is strike damage and pierce damage gets increased by fitness, and then resolve, the combination of might, vigor, and knowledge, that will give you fire and cold damage. And we have a lot of that right now as well as fitness, but because we are an ice warrior, we kind of wanna, a storm warrior, we kind of wanna go into resolve here to play into cold damage. That's what we have a lot of right now, so we could go more into might and support our heavy armor now and still be a mage in terms of damage, but have the option to swap to pure physical. Flexibility, choice, choice, choice. That's the motto here.
So if at some point we find a cool melee weapon, for example, we could switch out that staff, yeah, just for a melee weapon, and that would just work just like the staff in the build, right?
Mm-hmm.